recall, the welfare check is how it began. The family had not heard from a loved one who had gone out fishing the day prior. Subsequently, his vehicle and some equipment was located along the shores of Kewaunee River, about a mile west of the city of Kewaunee. Units from the Kewaunee County Sheriff's Department, Kewaunee Fire, Luxembourg Fire, Door County Rescue, as well as the Department of Natural Resources, all responded to the area where a search then began. Items, again, were recovered. Fortunately, with the technology, the equipment, and professionalism of those units that responded at approximately 10:04, the body of the victim was recovered. So that has since been turned over to the coroner, and we are now currently in the stand-down operation.
Was there anything suspicious about this? Anything in nature when you guys responded?
Not at all. We were told by the family that the subject was known to go fishing whenever they could. Very avid sportsman, so they understood where he most likely was as far as ice fishing. It was just a matter of locating which area.
Obviously, the body is at the coroner's office. You don't know, like at this point, we don't know if there was an incident or if he fell or had a medical condition. Right.
At this point, I can tell you there's nothing suspicious being suspected, but yeah, it's just a terrible tragedy.
You said ice fishing. Was he out ice fishing? You said fishing equipment was found. So was there a boat involved or not? He just walked out on ice?
No, we're talking about an ice fishing incident here. So yes, on the Kewaunee River, there is what we call a shelf of ice. Along the shores, you are able to go out. But again, with current on a river, that the condition of that ice can vary greatly with the current and, of course, what you've seen with the warming temperatures. So unfortunately, the ice was not strong enough to sustain. There was an incident and would have gone through the ice into the water.
How far offshore from the riverbed?
We were approximately, I'd say, about 30 yards off the shore.
Could you see, was there like a hole in the ice where this person possibly fell through?
No, I mean, everything around it was fairly degraded, so it wasn't unable to see exactly where they would have went through, yeah.
But some of his fishing equipment was still found on the ice?
Yes, yes. So again, I mean, much like the tragedy that we experienced down in Two Rivers, another example where you really want to be mindful of the conditions of ice. We've seen, yes, we've had some cold days, we've also had some warming days. Specifically on a body of water where there's a current, you need to realize the flexibility, the fluidity of that surface ice. So just be mindful of that. This is a terrible tragedy. Again, we're working with the family, trying to be sensitive as far as releasing that name, and that will be coming out. Probably by the end of the day, we will release that name, but we want to allow that family some time for notifications.
Do you think this incident happened yesterday, or did it happen this morning?
So we know that the last time that they would have seen the individual was yesterday. We believe that he was out fishing on the ice as of yesterday. They became alerted late last night, started to do some searching. We were then notified early this morning.
What's the difficulties of looking for somebody in a mixed condition of ice and water and current?
It really is. I mean, fortunately, we have some great technology. The Department of Natural Resources recently acquired a unit, which is just amazing in its ability to do such work. So we were very fortunate to have them responding as quickly as they did. But yeah, some of the dynamics are the safety of our own responders. We have to be careful that in searching for someone, in an effort to try to save someone, we don't put ourselves in danger. So that's always the challenge. But again, we've got some great technology, some great work, and some amazing professionals that allow us to expedite this process.
What's your message to people? Because you mentioned the warming temperatures and ice conditions, I mean, it's pretty early in the season.
Yep, just be mindful of that. I mean, this was an individual who was just on foot, just standing, so I mean, you've got a lot less pressure. But we have seen situations where people try to bring out ATVs or vehicles. Just be mindful that we are not at a place yet where there is stable ice conditions for any sort of activity out on those bodies of water. But again, be mindful specifically of those areas where there may be current or turbulence under the water that actually degrade that condition of ice.
How thick was the ice in the area where he went through?
That I wouldn't know. I mean, again, it's so varied. I mean, you'd go a foot and it would be totally different. So anything from maybe 2 inches, 3 inches, 4, and then back down again. So it's very, very volatile. A lot of changing conditions.
Do you know how many different departments responded to this incident?
As far as the law enforcement, again, it was primarily the Kewaunee County Sheriff's Department, but then we had Kewaunee Fire, it'd be their jurisdiction, so they were out assisting. They do have an ice rescue team, which they deployed, and they were in the water assisting just as far as stabilization. But then we had Door County Rescue, the dive team, and they're really the ones that are able to go into the water and really do some actual work in the water. Again, the Department of Natural Resources with that underwater UAV, an amazing piece of equipment. So everybody working together, just in a phenomenal response.
When do you think the road's going to reopen?
Everything is open. Yeah, we've opened up the road, so everything is cleared in that area. So unfortunately, it didn't impede any traffic or anything, and we're able, with the conditions, to get back to the specific area, because it was away from the highway, from where you folks were stationed. It was downriver, or upriver, quite a bit. So we're lucky that the conditions were solid enough that we could get our equipment down into that area. But again, that area is all private property, so be mindful of that. If you do go back, if you want to get any footage, you have to do it right from County E, but that area that you saw us coming from, be mindful that is all private property, so try to stay away from that.
How long after you arrived on scene did you locate the victim?
So again, 5:24 approximately in the morning that we were down there, and then 10:04. So it was a while, and a lot of that has to do with response. Just getting the right people with the right equipment in the right place. And we're very grateful to have them, but again, they're not necessarily on standby waiting at the station. You gotta get these folks woke up, you gotta get them into their vehicles and get them down here. So we're very grateful for the resources and the people, but being out in a rural area, the response time is always a struggle.
How long from when divers, I guess, went in the water to when the body was found?
So that was very quick. Again, that equipment that the Department of Natural Resource brought up, that unit was probably in the water 15 minutes when they did the locate, and from that point, it's just a matter of choreographing the process by which you're going to send those individuals into the water. So it was very well expedited by the time we got the UAV in there, and then for them to retrieve it very quickly. So we're very grateful for that, and the family is as well.
Thank you.
Yes. That's one thing, especially, coming from the family, and even the community. We all knew this individual very close to all of us. And yeah, if there was a time in a day where he didn't have to be working, he'd be fishing. So he loved fishing, and I think that's some consolation to the family for anyone that, when a tragedy happens and you have to look and say, well, they were doing what they loved. And this gentleman definitely was doing what he loved doing.
Did you know this man?
Yes.
You're getting a little emotional, Sharon.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's a small community. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that? Again, you kind of said, obviously we're waiting, but can you talk about the person that, you said he was an avid fisherman. Can you talk a little bit more about him?
I think that might be better to wait until we do the identification. I might be speaking a little ahead of time there. But again, in a small community of 20,000 people in the whole county, right, I've been at this 32 years here, there is not a person that we don't know. So that's the thing. Whether it's a car accident or even an arrest, right, chances are our paths have crossed. So it just brings us to a different place when we have to respond to these. But we have to do our job, no different than it's in a big city. We have to do the same level of professionalism, even though it might tug at our heartstrings a little bit more.
You said it's private property. Is that his private property?
No.
Or is that he has permission, obviously, I'm assuming,
Yeah,
to be
this is
down?
another family. We've been in contact with them as well, so they're well aware of it. And of course, he had permission to be back there for many years. This is standard in this area on any given day, whether it's Kewaunee County, Door County, and even into Brown. Everybody knows the waters, and that those folks are out there they've been waiting all summer to get out on that ice and fish. So the message, again, is just wait a little bit longer. Wait till we get those conditions stabilized just a little bit more.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Sheriff.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys again for coming out.
Thank you.
Good day for a drive.
Sorry.
Yeah,